Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Luminous Group series of videos on process thinking. Today, we have a special guest star. I'd like to welcome Dr. Ken Woodside, another consultant at the Luminous Group, who does a lot of work in things like organizational behavior and change management. Welcome to the video, Ken.
Good to see you, Rich. Hello, everybody.
Thanks, Ken. So, Ken, the first question I'd like to throw your way is, why is change difficult? Everyone wants to change, but yet we struggle to change.
Well, that's an interesting question because we think that change is rational and that it's logical, and we understand that organizations need to change, but we forget that organizations are made up by people. And if we look at neuroscience or how the brain works, we understand that people are not rational beings who think. We are thinking beings, we are emotional beings who think. So the basis of this is understanding how the brain works as human beings. And the brain says, I don't really like change. And the reason is the real purpose of a brain, or the function of a brain, is survival. And survival means maintaining the status quo, understanding the present reality, and understanding where the dangers are and reacting to them. So when we look at workers and understand that organizations are made up of workers, that when we put together a change initiative, we understand that people have to implement it, and people say change. Our brain reacts by saying, that's unfamiliar, and the brain does not like unfamiliar. So it tends to say, I want to resist it. And if it's danger, it triggers a part of the brain that says, I'm either going to fight the danger, I'm going to run from it, or I'm just going to be so overwhelmed, I'm just going to sort of flock and freeze in place. So if we look at that to say that the brain naturally resists change, it's not to be obstinate, it's not to say, I don't like what is happening, but when change is sprung on people, the brain says, whoops, stop. I have to look at my survival as a person, and maybe this change is not going to be good for me. So the question marks come up and the brain sort of stops. So that's sort of what the immediate reaction is, Rich.
So, Ken, when you've worked with some organizations, what are some signs that change is being resisted? How does that actually look in an organization?
Well, sometimes it's very overt, where people say, in working with organizations who are going to develop teams, for example, there are some people who just say, I'm not going to be part of teams, no way, I'm just going to fight it. Other instances are saying where people are asking questions. Why do you have to do that? Who decided this? I didn't hear anything about it. So those are the overt signs. The signs that are not verbalized are ones where people are just not communicating. They're stepping back. They're not performing like they normally do. And so they're sort of freezing in place and they're just doing nothing. And engagement goes down. And so we're not just as productive. And sometimes that can be seen very definitely in production. Oftentimes scrap goes up, quality goes down, etc. And what happens is we have a tendency then to attack people verbally or non-verbally and try to fix the blame for what's going on, and that makes the brain react even more. So sometimes it can be overt, sometimes it can be very, very subtle.
Okay. And as you said, the concept of just trying to force the change can actually dig people into whatever their reaction was even worse.
Absolutely, because we have a tendency then to micromanage people, to put the pressure on, stress increases, and the brain says, wow, this is a threatening situation. I'm going to step back even more. And I'm not, and I'm just going to be react emotionally, and I'm just not going to be on board with the change. But sometimes you'll see a change initiative take place, and you go back a week later or 2 weeks later, and you've gone back to the original way of doing things.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
So, Ken, what are some of the highlights about ways to actually manage change that you've seen that are are more successful. Can you just highlight a couple of the ways that organizations can be a little more successful?
Yeah, one of them is, and I think the basic one is involving the people who are going to be impacted by the change, either have to implement it or are going to be affected by the outcome. By involving them early to understand why the change is being made, and don't just set up this situation where you're saying what you've been doing is wrong. How can we take the current situation and build on what people are already doing? So we're saying this is the next logical step. We're not fixing blame. We're involving people right from the beginning and getting their ideas and telling them that they're going to be part of this process, and then supporting them through that process. But the key thing is involving them right from the beginning to overcome that sort of emotional resistance to the change, and recognizing that resistance is not just being obstinate, it's the way the brain works.
Well, Ken, it's really been insightful, and I know that as you and I have worked together, I've learned a lot, and recently had some success working in a unionized plant where people up front told me, "Oh, it's going to be very difficult to get the union to change," and we really had a
Yep.
lot of success using some of these exact tools you've talked about.
Yep.
So, really, the outcome of this video, if your organization is seeing some of those signs that Ken talked about of either overt or more covert resistance to change, or if you've made change and then found that your organization sort of snapped back to the old way, there might be some opportunity to look at this as a neuroscience or a psychology type of problem. And if you'd like more information about that, you can come to our website, which is www.luminousgroup.com, LUMINOUSGROUP.com, and get more information about that. We really appreciate you coming on, Ken, and
I love it.
look forward to talking to you.
Yep, look forward to talking to some clients too.
Thank you.